Hey guys, this is Matt from McWattersaffect, and I'm going to be talking about Democrat hypocrisy. Now, that's a pretty lengthy subject, especially when it comes to Democrats, because they're hypocrites all around. But what I really want to talk about is their use of the Jim Crow era when they were talking about the Georgia law, and how I believe vaccine passports is Jim Crow. Now, if you agree with me, that's fine. If you don't, well, you know now what I'm talking about. You can leave. But this video is going to be a little longer than what I normally do. And I figure the guys that actually are loyal to my channel and really enjoy my stuff will enjoy this video. Now, first thing I want to talk about is a video I saw where Eric Holder had an interview with Rachel Maddow, and I'm going to go ahead and play that video now.
Let me ask you what you make as a former senior administration official, as somebody who's very close to former President Obama, who's also close to President Biden and Vice President Harris. What do you make of the direct action strategy that's being brought by voting rights advocates? Obviously, Vice President Harris and President Biden are very much in support of reforms like the For the People Act, and they've called for their passage, and they've advocated for their passage, and they've made a public case for them. We know that, we've heard all the speeches, right? We know their position. But yet you're seeing increasing and sort of increasingly relentless focus by moral leaders on this issue who are getting arrested. People who are getting arrested at the Senate office building, at the Supreme Court, at the White House. We're expecting this summer of direct action on voting rights to accelerate to the point where there's going to be considerable civil disobedience outside the White House, people trying to set off a moral alarm here. What do you make of that strategically, as somebody who's been the target of those kind of protests in the past and somebody who knows the people who are being targeted by these activists?
Power seeks nothing without a demand. And we too often underestimate the power that we have as regular American citizens by marching, by protesting, by raising our voices. That's a really important part of the thing that I'm leading, the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. We have a big advocacy campaign to get American citizens involved in this fight. If we make our voices known, if we demand the kind of change, the fair change that we're seeking, I think that will help in the process. Yeah, it's not going to probably move Republicans. I'm being realistic about that. On the other hand, the Democrats are going to have to think to themselves, do I want to be seen as the person who, like James Eastland, Stennis, those people before, who stood against the passage of civil rights bills? Do I want to have that as my legacy? And raising the consciousness of people by demonstrating, by getting arrested, by doing the things that ended segregation. If you'd asked people back in the 1950s, you think marching, demonstrating is going to bring down a system of American apartheid? You probably would have said, no, that's just not going to happen. And we should not lose faith right now. We shouldn't lose faith right now. Citizens can make a change. Citizens need to be in the streets. Citizens need to be demonstrating. Citizens need to be calling their representatives to demand the kind of change that will make this country more representative, make our democracy more fair.
All right, that's the end of the video. And as you can see, that guy's a dirtbag. And I'll tell you a couple different reasons. First thing, for the People's Act, no, it shouldn't be called that. It's for the Democrats Act. Because number one, it's getting rid of photo ID. Number two, it's allowing ballot harvesting. Number three, it is allowing the Democrat Party pretty much redistrict all throughout the country. Now, okay, when I say redistricting, I'm talking about gerrymandering. Now, instead of an elected official in that state actually doing the gerrymandering in that state to pretty much change borders and districts for voting, it will be a bureaucrat that is selected by Nancy Pelosi in Washington, D.C. doing it instead. Now, either way, I don't like either way, but at least if the voted official doing it, at least he could be voted out of office. This guy who is being pretty much put into that office by Nancy Pelosi cannot be voted out. I mean, it's going to be hard enough to get just one bureaucrat out of that office, but then if you go by what the law says, it's supposed to be a group. That makes it even harder. Of course, if Republicans in there, it would be a Republican that would change everything, and he would be choosing who would be doing it. But with this law, it would make it where it'd be hard for Republicans to actually take over the House or the Senate again, especially since if this bill's passed now and she redistricts now. Now, the group will not be elected, though. They'll also be chosen by Nancy Pelosi. And guess who's a part of a group that will be redistricting? Of course, Eric Holder is one of them. And that's the reason he's pushing this bill. And he's pushing for people to go out in the streets and protest for this bill not being passed. Like it's 1960s and they're protesting for the right to vote. All right. This has nothing to do with the 1960s or anything to do with African Americans' ability to vote. All it's going to do is give the Democrats what they want, and that's ultimate power. It's going to allow them to do everything they did in the 2020 election and make it legal. And the next thing I want to talk about is the Georgia election law. Now, Mr. Joe Biden said that it is kin to Jim Crow law. Okay, how's that? First thing, Jim Crow law specified only one group of people. This doesn't specify any group of people. It specifies all people have to follow this law. That makes it legal and constitutional, and it certainly doesn't discriminate. Number two, the idea that African Americans and people of color can't get an ID to vote because they don't know where a DMV is or something like that, or don't know how to use a computer, is racist on its head right there, because that's what Democrats are saying, especially white Democrats. So that should tell you enough about where their head is about African Americans and people of color. All right, number three, there's nothing in that law that prevents African Americans from voting. Okay? Actually, getting an ID is not hard. Not only that, it actually says in law that all you need is a social security number as well. That will prove who you are as well. So, either an ID, photo ID, or a social security number, you can vote in the state of Georgia. They also have a website where you can actually get a photo ID. You can take a picture with your phone or your computer, send it to that website, and they'll send you an ID in the mail. How is this racist? No one's explained this to me yet. Okay? It's not. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is vaccine passports and how I believe that is closer to being Jim Crow than actual photo ID is. And we'll go ahead and take a look at this headline. It's from Breitbart. New York's Jim Crow vaccine passports will deny service to 72% of young black residents. And he goes a little further into the article. I'll go ahead and bring it up. A full 72% of young black New Yorkers are about to be denied service and the right to work in New York City restaurants, gyms, and theaters. The far-left New York Times reports Thursday only 28% of black New Yorkers age 18 to 44 are vaccinated, compared with 48% of Latinos residents and 52% of white residents in that age group. This means on September 13th, when the fascist city vaccine passport law goes into effect, 72% of black New Yorkers age 18 to 44 will be denied service, as well as 52% of young Hispanics. Okay, guys, that is pretty much my case right there. 72% of African Americans in the city of New York are not vaccinated. And then 52% of Hispanics are not vaccinated. Now, is that how it is nationwide? I'd say it's pretty close. Because right now, nationwide, we're about 50-50. And let's just say majority of people that are vaccinated are white. Okay? That's just an undeniable fact. If you go by the statistics, that's 100% true. And why is that? Is because the availability of it in areas? I don't know. But the idea that they want to do these vaccine passports and keep people out of certain areas such as restaurants, gyms, theaters, auditoriums for when they're having a concert or something like that. And majority of people that won't be going to them will be people of color. Should raise alarms to Democrats, but it's not. It's raising alarms to people like me. Because, to be honest with you, I'm one of those people, I believe, it is your choice whether or not you get that vaccine. Now, if you decide to get it, obviously you need to talk to your doctor and consult with him and make sure that that is the best practice for you. But in my case, I did get it because my father's in his late 60s, and I don't want to give him a chance of getting sick from me or my wife or my kids. So we got it, and that was a personal choice on my part in order to prevent my dad from getting sick from me. And he had it too, as well as some of the other people in my family that are close to him. And that's just a personal choice between everybody that's in your family, whether or not you get it. And obviously, you need to consult with your doctor as well. But do I think just because I made that choice, you should make that choice too? Absolutely not. It is up to you whether or not you want to do it. Government has no business telling you whether you should or should not do something like that. And they certainly don't need to be telling businesses, hey, you can only accept certain people. That is discrimination, regardless what color of skin they are. If you say anybody that doesn't have a vaccine card doesn't get in, that's being discriminatory. And then when you find out later that majority of the people that aren't getting in are people of color, that makes you even look worse. Just my opinion. Now, there's two other big cities they're doing this in, San Francisco and now New Orleans. I got a headline from New Orleans. New Orleans enact vaccine passport amid privacy and discrimination concerns. Well, yeah, it's no one's business whether or not you got that vaccine or not. And it's certainly not the government's job to tell you to do it. But guys, that's my opinion. I'm sure other people will have a different opinion. I just believe in freedom. I believe that using tactics such as forcing businesses to only accept certain people is wrong. That is Jim Crow. Okay, that's what they did in the South to African Americans. They only allowed whites to go into majority businesses. That was wrong. It's no different to what's happening now with these vaccine passports. But guys, that's my opinion. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like and subscribe. It helps my channel grow. Peace.